Welcome to the Growing Your Business podcast. This is the show that dives into the big question, what's in it for me, for both the business and its customers? On each episode, we sit down with a business owner or leader to uncover their why, their values, and the stories that drive them to grow their business. This episode is sponsored by Russ Birch, commercial banker with Frost Bank in Plano, Texas. Joining me today on the Growing Your Business podcast is my old friend Dan Klonowski with Thrivent. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing excellently. We were just talking in the run-up to the show about good hair and good beards.
Right on.
And
yeah.
I know that Buddy is a consultant for both. So
yeah, I try to
happy to be here again.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here, Dan. Let's talk about, just for the people who just joined us, should be everybody if you just tuned in, what is it you do and how do you benefit your customers?
Yeah, it's a good question. I work at Thrivent and I try to do what I call financial wellness, which means anywhere that someone is along the journey of financial growth, education, their mindset towards money, there's always a way to take a step forward.
Yeah.
That comes from my history in the classroom as a math teacher, right? You know, one of my one-liners is never quit being a math teacher, just traded the classroom for the boardroom. So I do truly believe that each and every person has the next step that they can take regarding money. And, you know, regardless of whether it's investing $5 in a mutual fund or leaving on your fortune, I'm here to empower that step.
That's terrific. I think a lot of people, when we talk about money, and especially someone with your talents in math, those are both scary subjects.
They are.
Right? But we all need someone to guide us along to make sure if you don't need to be good at math, but to protect your money, you need someone like yourself. So talk to me about customer engagement. How does someone start a conversation with you? What do you do to get them going?
I try and make sure that the first time someone engages with me, they see me in a line of service. Mm-hmm. And that could be from receiving an introduction from one of my current clients, or more often what happens is they see me as a personality in the community, someone who is a familiar face at the chamber, or even better, involved in community service work, because that is the differentiator, right? You know, another thing that I like to say is anyone can sell the mutual fund, sell the life insurance, do the disability planning, but who's doing it with personality? Well, I strive to be that person. So
that's wonderful. So tell me about a customer story. We all love a good story. Mm-hmm. And there are thousands of them out there, you know, and you've been in business for a while. Walk me through a journey with someone who had all the questions we all have. Like, what am I doing, Dan? How can I protect my assets, plan for the future, ideally gift, you know, prepare my anybody in my care for a safe future with my finances?
Yeah. One of the things I love to talk about is that our wealth transcends our time here on earth. You know, that comes from Thrivent being a company that's rooted in the church. I grew up a pastor's kid, so I can get philosophical with the best of them. Mm-hmm. A recent case that I worked on was one in which, you know, the clients had done really well for themselves, and now they were thinking about the next steps after they were gone from their earthly life. And that's a tough thing for people to think about, right? You know, planning for your own mortality, basically. Yeah, right?
That's tough.
They are, you know, blessed enough to have lived a really good life. They've got 2 beautiful daughters. And so their question was, how do we arrange the 3 beneficiaries that we all have, which are the family, community organizations, and the government, and choose between, you know, okay, what percentage is going to each, and in what order, right? And so what we're working on with them is passing their assets through taxes, right? You know, they're in a pretty low income bracket right now because they're retirees. They live very frugally. And so whatever they can leave onto their 2 girls that is going to be tax-free, we're here to help them do that, as well as, you know, the churches and charity that are very close to their heart.
Stay with us. The Growing Your Business podcast will return right after this.
A woman in Austin was depositing a cashier's check at the bank, but she deposited it right into a storm drain. The Frost banker found another way in.
Time out! So he went into the hole.
like a cave diver.
A real spelunker of the streets.
What about the check?
It's money in the bank.
Ka-ching!
Ka-chang.
Ready to amplify your brand's voice? At Blue Mike Studios, we transform your ideas into captivating podcasts and videos. Whether you're launching your own show or guest starring on ours, we've got you covered. From recording and editing to social media promotion. With state-of-the-art 4K video and crystal clear audio, your content will shine. We offer guest packages on our podcasts and offer segments from the show for you to share. Or let us help you build your own branded podcast with custom strategy, branding, and full production support. Visit BlueMikeStudios.com today and let your voice be heard. Please check our show notes for sponsorship links and additional details. Now, back to the Growing Your Business podcast with Buddy Broyles. I've heard a phrase recently, and I'm sure you've heard it in your industry, which is, if you don't have a retirement plan or something that's written down.
I know exactly where you're going.
Yes, the U.S. government has one for you. So tell me about a response to that.
It is 1,000% true,
yes.
Right? And what you're alluding to before, Buddy, that this is a topic that scares people, that drives people away, because it's not really approachable, right? The tax code, which, we're getting into that season, it's February, April's right around the corner, is thousands of pages long.
Yes.
And ain't nobody got time for that, right? So what we do is, we lay out what the government's plan is. And then it usually is not a very hard sell to say, is that where you want to go? Or do you want to, be on your own plan?
Yeah. And
that's a good conversation opener to everything else that we do. I struggled at the beginning of my career with, am I helping people or am I bothering people when I'm making phone calls? And that was really what, broke the what am I trying to say? Broke the bondage for me of, I actually am an asset to people, is I help people live their lives.
Yeah. And plan for others' lives,
yes.
The people in their care. Let's talk about getting over that hump of service, right? So let's walk to, you didn't just wake up one day and decide, he's like, I'm going to be in financial services and help people, right? So you mentioned a teaching background. Let's talk about, what you wanted to be when you grew up, quote unquote, and where you are now and that whole story.
There are angels out there. Again, this is my pastor's kid background coming in, that guide us along our path. The first angel for me was Dr. Tina Cruz. Hello, Dr. Tina. If you're listening out there, I'll send you the episode.
Awesome.
But she was my undergraduate professor in the education and psychology departments, who sold me on the career of being a middle school teacher. It turned out, as many teachers often find out, that the theory of education and the reality of education are two very different things. Yeah. Shout out again to the teachers out there. Love you. Thank you for your service.
You do. Yeah, no kidding.
And so I began to look at ways of using the similar skills of mentorship, goal setting, leadership in a brand new way. And the second angel that I'll mention is a man named Larkin Broxton, who's my direct supervisor. He reached out to me the day after my birthday in 2022 on LinkedIn and said, I think you should consider becoming a financial advisor. And I said, excuse me?
No kidding. Yeah.
He said, let's schedule an interview. I'll tell you why I think it's a good idea. And he was absolutely right. So
wonderful.
There are people that God sends into your life at different, steps along the path that truly change your trajectory.
Right.
Now that I'm in the business, I aim to be one of them.
Yeah.
Right. I'm so glad that I met Dan 5 years ago, and now, our retirement plan's on track. We have a plan to pay our taxes, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. And I like the way you said that with the angels. There's that, and I'm sure it's like a Confucius or something like that, but we both know this, like when the student is ready, the master will appear, right?
That's right.
People step into your life when you're ready to receive
Yeah.
them, or when you're at a place when you are receptive, right? And I presume that's what you're doing for your clients. Is they're reaching out, or you've been referred to them because they realize they don't want the government's plan,
Right.
right?
They've realized that they don't want the government's plan, or that they're not quite satisfied with their own.
Great.
Right.
Yeah.
We all the time will meet with DIY investors who have done pretty well for themselves. But again, it goes back to the idea of, if you're at a 90% and you can get to 100, we're here to take you there.
Great.
Because, a lot of people, study this pretty heavily. There's some really, really awesome books out there that I refer people to, right? Because I can't always be in front of you 24/7.
Right.
But there's always another good step in the right direction.
Tell me about someone's listening and they're
Mhm.
like, I like Dan. I want to talk to him.
Yeah.
How does an engagement start with you?
Yeah. That comes from my phone number, which, is, I'll be happy to share in the show notes here, is the best way to reach me. Ring straight in my pocket. So it's not going through a phone tree or anything like that. You'll usually find me around town as well, because, let's be honest, it's good when your financial advisor shows up in places that matter, at service projects in the church, at the Chamber of Commerce, so that with organizations that I've been building relationships with, that's only going to happen if I'm there more than once. I can't be a one and doneer.
Right.
So, business cards are great, but conversations are a whole nother level.
Right.
And that's why we, sit down for coffee or something like that. And that meeting's going to be on me, right? I would love to show you the value that we bring. The what if is what I'm going to call it. What if I had just that little bit more planning behind what I'm doing with my money. That time is going to be 100% on me until we figure out what value I can add.
That's wonderful. So for someone like me, Dan,
Mm-hmm.
when I hear financial advisor or all these, those words, the jargon around it, there are a lot out there. It'd be like saying,
Sure, yeah.
CPA, right? Okay, where do I start? What's different about Thrivent, and why
Mhm.
did you choose Thrivent?
That's an excellent question. So there are a lot of players in this space. I often joke that if I go to a Chamber of Commerce meeting, I am prepared to be one of at least 15 financial advisors in the room. Number one, it's about showing up
Mm.
repeatedly, right? Making sure you're at the chamber at least once a month or something of that nature. Number two, I'm a big believer in a lot of people tell you that anything can be commoditized.
Mm.
I'm going to go a step further with that and say that anything can be philanthropized.
Oh,
Let me
interesting.
tell you what I mean by that. Thrivent is a company that's rooted not only in the church, but in community service. On the back of every business card I hand out, it says 5 things, the 5 pillars of Thrivent, which are advice, insurance, investments, banking, generosity is the 5th one. And that's the one I always point out. We empower our membership with dividends and community grants, little micro grants of $250 every year, that they can go and say, my church needs this, the nonprofit I support needs this, the PTA that I'm on for my kids needs this. And I get to bring that to them as the evangelist and say, after you're finally through underwriting for life insurance, which sometimes takes a matter of months, who do you want to bless?
Yeah.
That's the next step.
Nice.
It is, who needs a little bit of a boost. $250 ain't going to change the world, but it's going to change a small bit of it.
It'll move the needle.
And that's what we're trying to do, just one little baby step at a time.
That's wonderful. Excellent. For people that want to reach you, you had mentioned earlier, Dan, phone number, contact information is down in the show notes. So if you want to learn more, I suggest you reach out to Dan. It's the second time you've been on the show in as many years. Dan, I'm glad you're back. Tell me about your number one, like what gets you out of bed in the morning? What makes Dan tick and enjoy what you do?
Right. I have a fascination with people's stories.
Mm.
That's important because It relates to your financial health. It also relates to your spiritual health, who you are as a human and what you're contributing to society. I was having a really great conversation at the Speakeasy Bar 2 weeks ago in Huntsville, Alabama, with an old friend of mine, Jake Rampton. I'll send you the episode too, Jake.
All right.
And what I discovered about myself is that I am relentlessly curious about other people. When I ask you, buddy, how was your day? I'm expecting a 10-minute conversation minimum.
From someone like me, you'll get it. Yes.
So, right. Because, that is the story that we're all put on earth to write. And I picture myself as being just one cog in the machine, one, I don't want to say ghostwriter, but one person who's helping you write down your legacy so that future generations of your family, future generations of the world will say, I'm glad I met Dan. I'm glad I met Betty. Here's how their life is still impacting me today.
That's wonderful. Well, Dan, I appreciate you coming on, growing your business again as a repeat and sharing, your knowledge, what's changed, and, your joy for what you do and helping people do what they can with their future.
Outstanding. Glad to be back.
This episode was sponsored by Russ Birch, commercial banker with Frost Bank, Plano, Texas. Thank you for joining us today on the Growing Your Business podcast. Please see the show notes for links to our sponsors, our social media, and to learn more about today's guest.